right, tonight we're going to take a look at three different things, three different aspects of the project as we get into them. And who from the Oracle class remembers about mind mapping and in 30 seconds or less can tell DJ what it involves? Uh-oh. 30 seconds or less. Charles is going to give it a try.
Is where you take, write down ideas that pertain to make something.
Correct.
Doing thought process for writing a paper.
Sometimes, in this case, if we're going to talk about teams, we probably would not have a primary key. But yeah, if we were talking about data, you're absolutely correct. So it's every thought that comes into your mind about the subject that we're discussing. No thoughts are turned down initially, and then we'll go back through and edit them and talk about them a little bit later. And that process, then we would talk about what was in scope or what was out of scope. So as we start to talk about themes, what are the thoughts that come to your mind? Had to pick a word I can't spell. Collaboration, okay? So a team's going to have to collaborate, either between its members or between one or two additional teams. What else? Okay. Experience.
I'm thinking more along the line of doing team projects and stuff like that.
Okay. Project experience. All right. Good one.
Roles and strengths.
Roles and strengths. That's a good one also. Let's go out this way. Another good one. If your team members aren't available, for some reason that doesn't look right. Okay, ABA. Here we go. It's the thought that counts. If your team members aren't available, then how can you work as a team? You can do some independent work, but you always have to get together as a team eventually and talk things out. While I was out at the FAA, one of the biggest problems we had was getting the group that I was with. There were 5 of us initially, then we dropped down to 4, and then we came back to 5. But getting that group together consistently to look at the work we were doing and how it interfaced with the hardware and the requirements and so on. But if you can't get together, you really need that face-to-face contact. Doing it over email just doesn't work. So you've got to be available. What else? Okay, let me catch Will first, DJ. Okay, contact. DJ, what were you going to have? Altruism. Well, how expand?
Well, typically that's putting others ahead of yourself, and in more things can be more, just not letting your ego be
Okay.
so that you're working as a team instead of discovering hard-headedness.
How about ego management? Again, I use a lot of FAA examples because that was my last delve into commercialism. But we had a guy on the team that I was on that wanted to work by himself. He didn't want to tell anybody else what he was doing. He would only talk to Gary Flynn, who was our lead, and he kept the rest of the team in the dark as to what he was doing. And when we found out what his project was using a totally different language than what we were told to use to design the project. So he wanted to do it. He wanted to do it all. He didn't want anybody else to be able to play in his sandbox. Caused a lot of problems. We had a couple people leave over because of that. So ego management is a good one. What else? We can come back to that. All right, we'll come back to teams and.
Well, I'm just thinking, sitting there in Fire. In this case, we're all going to be using Oracle to take a single platform, but like you were saying with the tool over there, staying on a single platform.
Okay. Let's see, how do we want to put that?
Consistency.
All right. And what else can consistency work with? Let me rephrase that. Since we've got consistency down, where else do we need to look at consistency? We need to look at it in software.
Hardware.
Okay. Other things. Okay. Again, we'll come back and look at this a second time. Let's talk about the data. What kind of we have done very little in studying, but based on what we know about the project, it's a job bank to track jobs and people. What data might we want to collect? Let's try and look at it in major categories first and then split the categories out. Okay. Okay. What else? Okay, now when we say the names of the people we're keeping track of, that's a good one, but where would you put it, Chris? In contacts. Okay. Let's say names for now. Good one. Ah, another good one. Hold that thought. Can't write that fast. Availability under contacts?
Yes.
Okay.
And available from work stuff, so just letting you know that the job is in the line, contact, work said, not real,
Okay, we had availability under, hold your thought, availability under contacts and then, okay, so add skills here, correct? Okay. All right, now Charles. Okay. All right, what else?
Contact information under job. This way you can contact the job, tell them the job first available.
Okay. Charles seems to be doing a lot, lets other people play too.
Under availability.
Uh,
Couple of subsections there for not just the schedule, but how many slots we have.
under availability here. Okay. Put a balloon on this. And so what'd you say, DJ? Type or
Well, not just
number?
the schedule, of course, but also the number of positions they have. So if they need a janitor, they have one or two or eight or however many.
Okay, schedule and how many? That's good. What else? All right, we're going to come back to this one. We got a little more work we can do with it. What are our traps or our pitfalls that we can get into as we create this, as we design it, as we deliver it?
Formats,
Okay. We're gonna make it simple if that's all right with you, DJ. Bad data. What else? Okay. What else?
There's one, I'm not too sure, what in the first one, but keeping the job names, separate from the view, so when a person sees a job available, they just put like a student number ID,
Okay.
so that, if the person who's working the computer system has a friend, Bob, and, sees he's going to choose a job, he's not gonna think, oh, it's Bob, that's what he thinks now. My favorite is, okay.
How about display? Because that's what we're talking about. Good one. Good one. All right, now I'll give you a hint. Quit thinking about data. Okay. And so let's add must be. Okay, what else? Okay, so really what we're talking about is data management. Yeah. Think out of the box. What else? Ah, Gold Star. Okay. Okay. Let's just say maintain metadata. How's that? Because that'll encompass all of it. What else? It's a big one. Time management goes along with time management. What am I thinking of? Starts with an S. Yep, schedule. What other traps do we have? Okay. Would you allow me to say team participation? Okay. And that and $2.03 will get me a cup of coffee at Starbucks. So participation. What else can trap us on this one? Lazy? Okay, yeah, that would work.
Maybe software we choose for
Okay. Think out of the box a little bit. Think away from our database. What other traps? Well, I'll put hardware down, but remember, we think we're going to provide the hardware.
company participation
Okay.
or talking to the parents for like to do that work. Knowing what they want, but I can definitely know that it can be.
Client communication. There's another thing with client communication that DJ kind of danced around it a little bit. Did anybody pick it up?
Client, involving client involvement, what can make change.
Okay.
Yeah.
What else? Think about the client. Where else might we have a problem with the client? Turnover, yeah. What else? How about client knowledge? What do we know about our client right now, by the way? Nothing. Very little. Yeah. And we need to get that from our contact over at the food pantry. So that may help us change some of the things that we thought about. What other traps can you think of?
Clients are also personality conflict.
Okay, personality. Come on, think out of the box. This is Oklahoma. Can we say Lance don't want it? Okay.
Another thing, anytime you have something like this, whether it's always a resistance, even though it might make their life easier, they just don't want to go through the hassle of work.
What else? There's another trap out there. Weather. Very good, Sandy. And what does weather have the possibility to impact for us?
Whether temporary or
Okay, let's. What's the biggest impact weather could have on us? Well, death. Yeah. Okay, I wasn't going there, but we'll put death up there. That would have a big impact on us. Okay.
Yeah, if they leave the laptop in the facility or in the facility, put the laptop, and that's the only copy.
Power. And not only could the laptop be destroyed there, it could be destroyed here. Another big one. There we go. All right. Yeah. An aside on that job market. I don't know if any of you live in Moore, live near the tornado area, but my wife, she was about ready to close her store anyway, but she saw her sales drop to zero in the weeks and months after the Moore tornado because people were not, they couldn't get their heads around what had just happened to them, let alone want to go out and buy things, okay, other than the plain necessities. So the job market could actually dry up. We could have a problem with that. What's the other big thing that weather is going to affect? How about our schedule? Anything else? Any other traps? We'll put travel. We know that's limited to where we're working with the customer, but absolutely correct. What's the other big thing with weather that would affect our customer? And think about who the customer is. Well, no. Well, yeah, we can do that. I'm editing when I shouldn't. What's the big thing? Who is our real customer? Think about that. Who's our real customer? Food spoilage
Or
is not our customer, right? But who's the real customer? Think about it.
customer,
Well, no, our customer is the food pantry and that group associated with them, and then their clients would be their customers. But what happens if we have a weather problem here to our customer? They get swamped, right? Assuming they're not blown away. So availability of the customer is what I was leading you guys to. Very good. Yeah. How many of you have jobs where you work with computers outside rows? How many of you have seen people really hose a database system or company files because they forgot to back it up? Yeah. Okay, done it to yourself. Yeah. Save, save, save. Save often and keep it. All right. Any other traps that you can think of at this point? We'll come back to this one. You're kind of getting into the flow of things. What can we add to data? Okay, data management, that's a good one. Yeah, we could. Ah, data to information, information to reports. Okay. Forms, okay. That might be something we want to look at. Okay, if you've got forms and inputs, what other kind of forms would you need? Yeah. Okay. Question. Is the forms management of the input within the purview of our charter? Yeah, what do, let me ask the question this way. Do we need to concern ourselves about forms for applying to the food bank? No. Do we need to concern ourselves about forms for jobs being put into the database and forms for individuals coming in seeking employment? Yes. Okay. Yep. And one of the things I think we want to start doing as I write down customers, so I believe Mike refers to all the people that come in as clients. Okay, which kind of makes, I mean, if I was in that situation, I would really, that would really make me feel good that they called me a client. Okay, I mean, you could be called several other things, but client seems to be a very nice way to put it. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, or a bum off the street, like Chris said. Yeah. So we'll try and refer to them as clients.
Worry about sending stuff to the IRS.
Good question. Uh, do they have to send anything to the IRS if they, I assume Charles gets somebody a job, right? What do you all think?
Okay, so this is not in service then, it's not, if you want working for the food bank, you're working for ABC factory.
Correct. This, and let me put that on the slide video audio here. The question was, will they be working for the food bank? And the answer is no. They won't be working for the food bank unless the food bank has a job open. They'll be working for whoever the employer would be. Yes. All right, that's not really one that fits in data, but it's a good question. Let's go back and take a look at our teams. What are some of the other things we can add to teams?
Should we have a relationship with the client directly, or is that also?
Good question. That's one of the things we need to look at. So the question was, who is in contact with the client? Client, we'll call that client contact. What else?
Website, what have
You read my mind. I really expected that size would be the first one that came up. If we think about size, then what's the next logical thought? That's a good player. Go ahead, Sandy, say that again. Okay, yeah, it does. They could go both places. What else? There's something else in here that's missing from teams. Managers, team management. How are the teams going to be managed? How are we going to do the managers? And so what are the options off of that? And I'll help you here. One is one manager. And what I mean by one manager or many managers, uh, from a professorial standpoint, it would be advantageous to have each member of the team take responsibility as a team leader for part of the project. But we might not be able to get the project done, so we're going to have to try and kind of balance it out as we do that. And that's one of the things we'll try and decide together. What else? Okay. Did we, let's see, is that on there already? No? Oh, there it is. Yeah, I was going to say, we will meet in class.
Yeah, but that's for the, individual team.
Okay.
Have you ever been up here?
Exactly. That works. So time, let's say team time. What else have we got? Okay, now I'm going to ask you a question. Think about it. Have you ever spent this much time planning out a project? We've spent right at 45 minutes. What would you say if I told you we're not done yet? I,
I feel like we're just getting started.
Very good. And that's part of what I like to teach in this class is we see the advanced database functions, and we'll get into the entity relationships and the ERDs and the normalization. But the other thing that it's important for you all to learn is the theory behind how we go out and plan this stuff once you get out there and start making the big bucks. And so we look at the theory behind it, the way we can plan it out, the way we can get it to work for us. Okay. Do you want to add anything else to teams? Do you want to add anything else to data?
There's kind of a link between client needs and data.
Okay.
Like that was kind of what drives it.
Do you remember the chart from Tuesday night that I put the red rectangles on? And what was the group at the end that I said we need to talk to, but we don't need to tell them too much? The end user or the client. Exactly. Very good. I got to bring my gold stars in. Pop you on the forehead with a gold star when you do good. What else on data? Accurate. Think about data and think about the overall project that we're going to deliver. What's a major concern we should have about data? And this term I'm not sure they have in the book. What do you think of when I say scalability?
Sure, there's plenty of room there for things that are exhaust and stuff.
Okay. Growth. Very good. And conversely, yeah,
Well,
due to weather.
right, but if
No.
the job market starts going down, the more people get jobs, you need more people.
Think bigger. Yes, shrinkage, but think bigger. And I guess maybe we have it. What I was looking for is how do we manage and delete stuff that is no longer needed. So management, yeah, maybe maintenance is the best way to say it. So we're going to have data maintenance. Okay. Anything else on traps that we want to add?
I think one thing I'm thinking on for data and everything, is the having like jobs through the Oracle form report. What kind of language does it use for those forms and reports? I know in Access we can make a original form. Uh, those ready from stakeholder of the world that Access program and run those forms. Into the information and you can lock out all the other stuff so that they can get into the database. But in Oracle, I don't know, are we going to be using the developer to run the forms, or is it going to be something spit out to HTML or a Java-based program that opens up the forms or not?
Okay, good question. How would we put that? How about if we?
Kind of a form plan.
How about project design? And let's think about this for a second. Right now, what are you comfortable with doing? Using SQL Developer. You've had some experience at creating tables, and you're very good at writing queries. Okay, your grade showed that last 8 weeks. What do we need to do in this? We need to go a step farther and we need to learn PL SQL. It'll help us do a little more fine tuning in our queries. And then we need to learn how to create the different forms or at least some sort of input and report device that can get the data for us. So that's one of the things that we'll learn when we get into PL SQL. Okay.
That we try to have some simple thinking of utilities so that they're able to know versus that to have somebody come in and approve.
How many of you want to come back in 4 years and update the tables for them? So we want to have our very good point, DJ. We want to have our maintenance done by the client. Very good. Who knows? I could be in Skagway, Alaska in 4 years. And you all could be, who knows where. Probably at the NSA, right? All right. Aaron, everybody stand up for a second, stretch, sit back down. We're going to go another 15 minutes and then we'll be done. Luke, do you need to go study for a couple of minutes? All right. The design process we went through out at the FAA took us a little over 3 weeks. We met every day from 7:30 in the morning to 11:30, and then we took, actually we took about a half hour for lunch, but we didn't come back to the conference room until 1 because you had to catch up on your other work, and then we worked from 1 until 3. And that is where we actually had the luxury of having specifications to work with, but we took the specs and we literally started out with a form of mind mapping and started to design the system and what it was going to do and how long it was going to take to update right there. And so this is a process you'll get into. And it's not one you want to be afraid of. And especially when you get out in the job market, don't be afraid to speak your opinion. Well, if you're afraid to speak your opinion, say, I had this weird old professor back at Rose State.
Yeah, I never got into that side of it, never knew about the force map. I wasn't high enough in base code. But I knew that originally started off with the buyer of the building and saying, I want this made, going to an architect and general engineer and get the freelance design that would take for someone else and someone else eventually get force map. And they might come in for 2 or 3 days and spend the entire time in the conference room with the mechanical people, electrical people, the site contractors, our crew out in the field, in the yard, the engineering, all of them going in there, and then from there it comes to our department, and we can go, okay, here's our key drafter, our detailers, engineer, project manager.
Yep. Yep. Okay, let's start again and we'll get out of here. Now, these are questions I would like your comments on. What do you think the ideal team size is? We have 11 people in the room. 11 is not acceptable. 3 to 4? 3 to 4 or 4 to 5? Five and 5 and a floater. Yeah. They bounce back and forth between each team. They're kind of a go-between. In the real world, we call them an assistant project manager. Okay? So both teams would report to the project manager, but you might have an assistant project manager who's down there in the weeds with them, coordinating between the teams, kind of the go-between. Okay? Yeah. Making sure they're on the same page. Good point. Yeah, exactly. No, not a mole and not a spy. All right. Say again, DJ?
Team that have their specific area, or if everyone goes to work on the whole project and they're in the end and take the best part of each. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And my answer is you will be teams that are working in concert together to build an end project. You will not be in competition. Okay. Yeah.
And I wasn't thinking of it so much as a competitive thing, because they just, you have, if you're a team working independently, they're gonna have their audience within each team. And then when you look at it again, okay, well, I like this one. And then they're all together.
We can still, yeah, each team is still going to be able to be creative. And the teams, I can tell you right now, the teams will not always agree on what they want to do. But part of the learning process, part of the theory process, I want to put you through an advanced database, is this is how we resolve the differences. So, and if it gets down to it, we get water balloons and we go out on the mall and go from there. All right, team leaders. I'm interested in your opinions on rotating team leaders, one team leader, maybe two team leaders for the 8 weeks. What are your thoughts? What if we've got teams of 5 and everybody wants to do it, Lance? They could vote, okay. Hostile takeovers, yeah.
I could see the value in rotating everybody through, because it certainly be beneficial to all if they can do that position. But wouldn't you kind of get to a point where every time you rotate, you're starting back from scratch somewhere?
How would you solve that? If we rotate team leaders, how do we keep from going back and starting over again? Well, we could assign each team leader a task. That's not bad. What else? Oh, I like that. That's gradable. Record keeping. What else? There's one other one that almost, I think, solves what you're asking, DJ. Can anybody think of it? We set up rules for how we operate. If you're a team leader, you can't come in and remake a decision that's been made in the past. Okay. I saw some team lead changes out at FAA, but not nearly as many as I saw when I worked over at Tinker for Robbins Joya, and on the government side and actually on our side. And the understanding was that when you went into a position, you did not go back and remake all of the decisions that had been previously made, unless they were flawed. I will try not to let you make a flawed decision. How's that? But that keeps for consistency, that keeps the team moving forward, that also keeps the team from saying, well, if we're going to have rotating leaders and I can't stand DJ, I'm going to wait until Chris is in charge, and then I'll do all the work for Chris. So we have to have some goals set up, and that's the other thing that will help us solve that problem. Okay, for the last 5 minutes, questions, thoughts, anything we haven't talked about that you're wondering about or curious about? Lance?
So, is it, I was wondering, so where do you, what happened, we end up not making something?
As long as it is a valid learning experience, I'll be happy, and you all will get the grade. I was going to say the grades you deserve, but you'll get grades that you'll be happy with. And that is an acceptable outcome in my mind from this process. How many of you have designed a group database before with a specific objective that you have absolutely no clue about? Nobody. Okay. So this is part of the learning experience, part of the theory, if you will, behind projects in advanced database. So, good question. You will not all fail if this doesn't work. Okay. We may find out we get into a situation with the weather, when we talked about traps, where if Rose State runs through a series of Tuesday and Thursday nights that says, your class can't meet because we're afraid there's going to be a tornado hit the campus, that's beyond our control. You know, we can work with it to some extent. But good question, Lance. What else? Now, don't you all sandbag me or I will get you, okay? A promise. What else? All right, there is a homework assignment for you. Tomorrow morning, these slides will be out under Module 1 for week 1 and 2, or however I set them up. I want you to take a look at them. I want over the weekend, tomorrow, next week, please don't do it 5 minutes before class on Tuesday. All right, I don't want to come in and see everybody writing. But look at them. Let them sit for a while, look at them, and look at what did we miss, what should we delete, okay, and what your opinions are. Anything you want to add. What I would like is everybody to bring in a printed out sheet with their comments on it. And then we're going to go around the room and talk about that, and we'll do that the second hour on Tuesday night.